And we're live. Good evening, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm Revel No Shorty. And today we're going to do a power bomb. We're going to review a comic book called Do a Power Bomb. And it's Danny Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer, a creative team I absolutely love. And I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff, but I want to give a bit of a heads up. There's going to be some spoilers in this review because I don't know I'm really going to get to the point of what I love about it without really telling you some stuff that's going on. I'm talking little stuff first, so I'll give you a big heads up, big warning when the spoiler's coming. And at that point, you can disappear, go and find the comic book, read it, and then come back to me. So first off, we can talk about this as a wrestling comic book. I am actually weirdly a fan of pro wrestling, not in a way of like I follow it weekly, although I used to back in the 90s and 2000s. And I also have known a semi-professional wrestler or two in my time, and I have a genuine appreciation for what they do. I understand that a lot of people will say, oh, it's fake, isn't it scripted? And these people are absolutely brilliant athletes doing their best to make something look dangerous while also making it as safe as humanly possible. People do get hurt, people get injured, some people die. It is a major thing, and I really like it, and I will defend it, happily defend it. But with a few minor exceptions, I have very rarely read a comic book about pro wrestling that I've enjoyed. The exceptions are thus: back in the day, Chaos Comics had the rights to the WWE stuff, or maybe even WWF back then. That's how long ago this was, when they did comic books about Undertaker and Mankind and other ones within that oeuvre, and effectively totally bought into the kayfabe of the entire thing, and had the Undertaker as literally a dead guy who come back and was wrestling and fighting demons and monsters, and Mankind was an escaped mental patient who talked to his sock, and they totally made the stories about the fake personas of these characters. It was brilliant fun. Since then, I've read some bits and pieces, and they seem to be just about wrestling, and that's fine. That's good. There's some good stories out there about what it means to be a wrestler, but none of them were as exciting as the Undertaker and Mankind being actual characters and going off and doing actual things. That was brilliant. That was exactly what I wanted out of a comic book, because with a comic book you can do that kind of thing. You don't have to kind of like, sell it as a thing. You just say, no, in this universe, this is exactly what it is. And that is going to play into this later on. But now we're going to talk about the artwork and the writing. Artwork and writing are brilliantly matched when it's one person doing it. Even better when you've got Mike Spicer just lending a hand. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's worked with Daniel Warren Johnson repeatedly. Those two actually work phenomenally well. They bounce off each other so effectively. There's something that happens in this comic book a few times, which I usually complain about, which is basically using just blank space for the background of a scene. But in this particular instance, every single time it happens 3 or 4 times. Every single time matters. There's a particular great example of somebody getting punched in the face, and you can see like it's a moment captured in time when their head is twisting, mouth being left behind as the impact is pushing the jaw to one side. There's a sound effect in the background, but most of the rest of it is just gone in an orange blur. At that point in time, that's all that matters. You don't really need to worry about the crowd. If you're involved in that situation, all you can feel is the impact, and all you can hear is the meat thudding on meat and bone. It is unpleasant, and it needs to be focused on, and concentrating too much on the background and worrying about who's back there. Yeah, it might look good, but it also might detract from what you're doing. And one thing that Daniel Warren Johnson does really well is emotional kind of stuff, not just the physicality, but of the fights, but also what it means. And there's great bits in a ring's entrance speech, which is fantastic, and it's really emotional, and also clearly just the character saying these things, but he doesn't back down from that. He leans into it very heavily, and that's another point where you just have the crowd fading away a little bit, and you just concentrate on this person standing there with a microphone. This person earlier on actually is there with their child, their daughter in fact, and again stuff falls in the background because it's a genuine compassionate moment between these two people. It's brilliant. But then you do get the actually fantastic artwork, and Daniel Warren Johnson can do a fight scene like nobody's business. The action sequences are brilliant and brutal, absolutely superb, and the setting and everything about it works to perfection. Now we get to the bit with the spoiler. So if you don't want this comic book and you don't want spoilers, I totally understand. Leave now. I'll speak to you later. Absolutely fine. But the very first panel of this comic book, and here's a spoiler starting, looks a little bit too eldritch, a little bit too occult, and my first thought was, okay, so maybe we're getting something more than just find a comic book about wrestling. Now, having read the rest of the comic book after that one panel, I was kind of happy with it. Johnson is brilliant at bringing the great highs and the slow beat moments. He can, work has been described as a roller coaster of emotion and pace before, and it absolutely is true. But in this one, you get to the end and realize, no, he's actually doing way more than just a comic book about wrestling. He's doing something big, and he's using something supernatural, and it's beautiful when he does it. It doesn't feel like a wasted moment. It doesn't feel like it's just trying to recapture something from a previous era of comic books or wrestling. He's doing his own thing. He's doing it effectively, and it ties in perfectly with the story we're seeing. Nothing is taken away from it because it isn't going to involve something supernatural. It does not become less. It does not ever stop being emotional and impactful and thrilling and dangerous because there is also something else potentially after death. No, that's it. That's my review. I hope you like it. I hope you managed to go and find a copy of this because I didn't put it on my pull list because of my aforementioned problems with comic books about wrestling. And I have no spares to actually buy my own this week. I might wait until I get it on trade and read it all then in one go. But I swear, if you have any vague interest in it, you're going to enjoy it. If you're thinking about giving it a shot because you've never tried wrestling comic before and you've had your friends talk about pro wrestling and you're wondering what the hell the big deal is, this is a good point to give it a shot. Absolutely, highly recommended from me. That's it for me today, though. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe.